everyone, this is Jody with Grace and Faith, and today we are continuing our series for Instapot for Beginners, and we are going to talk about one of my kids' favorite desserts of cheesecake. My kids love cheesecake. I would have never attempted to make cheesecake before. I didn't realize how simple it was, but the Instapot makes it even more simple for people who don't like to cook like myself. So let's dive in. This is going to be real quick on how to make cheesecake. First off, we need to talk about what kind of pan. There's a couple of different pans that you can get to make cheesecake. This particular now is a spring form pan. As you can see, there's a latch right here that I can pop this open and it will pop off. So that way, once your cheesecake is finished, you have a perfect cheesecake sitting here on the pan. I'm not going to demonstrate it right now because I already have my crust inside the pan for the cheesecake we're going to make. But this is called a spring form pan. It pops off, and this is the one that I typically use. There's also a push pan, which is round just like this, and the bottom comes off, but it doesn't spread. It doesn't have this pop open button that comes off. Some people prefer that method. I prefer the ease of this one. With the push pan, sometimes your sides will get stuck. And a way to remedy that is to put parchment paper inside or the rims in at the bottom, and that kind of helps with that, but I just went with this. And there's a new pan, an Instapot. It's actually called Instapot Springform Pan. It actually has a glass bottom, so you can use that as a serving tray, and not like this one will scratch if you cut on here. So the glass would be nice to have. And the side is actually silicone, which would be fantastic because then you don't have the aluminum that I have in this. I actually looked for that one. That's a new one. So if I were to buy a new, I would get the Instapot Cheesecake Springform Pan. That would be my recommendation. So you need to have some sort of pan. Some people will use just a normal pan. Be aware that it's harder to get it out. And you do need, this is a 7-inch, and I believe that's about as big as I can get into my pan without destroying stuff. So that's what you need. Let's talk. So how do you make the cheesecake? You're gonna follow whatever recipe you had before. There's a lot of different recipes you can find online, and I will actually link them into my blog. But initially, you're just gonna put your crust inside your pan. This one's just made from graham crackers and sugar and butter. You push it down into the pan. You want to make sure the whole bottom is covered and a little bit up on the sides, and that's going to seal your filling inside of the pan. But you don't want your crust coming up too high on the side. Otherwise, if it's not covered by your filling, it's going to get soggy and mushy, and we don't want that. So once you get your crust in your pan, you're going to put your pan into the freezer for about 10-15 minutes. Just let it harden up just a little bit. Mine has been sitting in there, and so we are ready to go. Then you're going to make your filling. As I said before, your recipe is going to change based upon your filling. Mine just basically was cream cheese, a little bit of whipping cream, eggs, sugar, a little bit of flour, vanilla, and I think that was it. So you're going to mix that. One key, this is huge when making a cheesecake. This is a problem that I always screwed up when I first started making it. Make sure that your eggs and that your cream cheese are at room temperature. If they are not at room temperature, your cheesecake is going to be lumpy, and it's not going to be a smooth cheesecake like you want. So make sure that your eggs and your cream cheese are at room temperature. If you are forgetful like myself and you don't pull them out before, like I normally try to pull them out 30 minutes before I start to make my cheesecake. If you forget that, just throw them, like I'll take my eggs and I'll run them underneath some warm water real quick just to take the chill off of them. And with my cream cheese, you can put them in a Ziploc bag and put them into warm water as well. Or some people will even microwave it just real quick to get it to room temperature. So if you forget that, use those tips. So yeah, you're gonna make whatever recipe. I've also made an Oreo recipe, a peanut butter, chocolate one. So there's lots of different recipes out there. I'm just kind of showing you the tips. Obviously, we're just gonna take our filling and we're gonna fill that into our pan. Do that real quick. Another thing that you want to be careful about when you are doing this is to make sure that you don't overbeat your eggs. When you're putting your eggs in, you just want to get them in real quick. Stir them in just so that they are in there. You do not want to make it You don't want to keep whipping forever. Then you're going to lose some of the fluffiness from your eggs. So now that that is in, I'm going to get some of the air out real quick. Now before we put this in the Instapot, we are going to cover this with just like a paper towel. I do this to try to keep some of the moisture off as the water goes into our Instapot. Sometimes it'll collect over top of the aluminum foil, and then it causes like a condensation on top of the cheesecake. We don't want that. So I put a little bit of a paper towel and then cover it with aluminum foil. And we're not going to do it like super tight. We're just going to loosely fill that over top just to keep the water from sitting on top of our pan. And I forgot my trivet. We're going to put our trivet down into the Instant Pot because we do not want that to, actually I'm going to do, this is the trick I do. Some people just put this straight down in there. You're also going to make a sling from aluminum foil. This is just a piece of aluminum foil folded over into thirds. I actually use my trivet, and then I put this in between the handles because it's easier for it to come out. And I will show you once I get this. I should have had this part done, but I forgot that I kind of cheat this way. And so as you see, like I'll pick it up like that with it on there. So I'm going to go ahead and dump my water in here, which I also forgot. Hold on one moment. So you're going to use 1.5 cups of water. We're just going to dump that straight into the Instapot. And then I'm going to take my cheesecake with the sling and carefully lower this down into your pan. Make sure everything settles in there well and it's level so that way you don't have a lopsided cheesecake. Then we're going to put our lid on. Although I did not check for my sealing. Let me make sure it's sealed properly because I really don't want to screw up the cheesecake. That would be really bad. Alright, we're good. So let's try this. I'm trying to do this upside down. It's not working out so well. Alright, so we're going to do that. We're going to set it to sealing, and then I'm going to do manual for 37 minutes. Not 38. We're going to do that 37 minutes. And once that beeps and it's done, we're going to let that rest for about 18 minutes at natural release. And then I will do a quick release if there's anything else in there. Once this is done cooking and it's done the natural release, you want to make sure that you let it sit out on your counter for about an hour to make sure that it can cool. And then at that point, I put it in the refrigerator for another hour. After an hour, you can, if you have the springform pan like I do, you can pop the sides off and use a knife to wrap around the side to break it away from the side and peel off the sides. And then allow your cheesecake to sit in the refrigerator. I suggest overnight, at least a couple of hours to chill and finish. But it is key that you let it sit in the Instapot for natural pressure release and then also let it sit down on your counters. When it comes out, when you pull out your cheesecake, it might look like it's not all the way done. What's going to happen is that hour that it sits out on your counter, it's actually still finalizing cooking. It's still cooking a little bit. So make sure you let it sit out and you don't throw it in the refrigerator too quickly because then you're going to stop the cooking process. If it looks way too runny when you pull it out, go ahead and put it back into your Instapot for about another 5 to 10 minutes. You can choose depending upon how bad it looks. I've never had to put it back in. I just leave it sitting out. It will be a little bit like jello-y, but it's not runny when I pull it out. So if it looks a little jello-y, it's a little bit squiggly, it's probably fine to leave it out for an hour and then I put it in the refrigerator. With this recipe that I'm doing, there's actually like a sour cream topping that you actually put on top of this. So watch your recipe because some of your toppings are going to go on while the cheesecake is still hot. So this one, when I pull it out, I will actually put the cheesecake topping on top. Other ones, you put it in the refrigerator and then put your topping on. So make sure you watch your recipe on when you need to put your topping on to make sure your cheesecake turns out well. So those are most of the tips that you need to watch for. The biggest things are, one, that you need to have the correct pan. Make sure that your cream cheese and your eggs are at room temperature. Make sure that you have the paper towel and the foil on top as well as a sling. There's also, I use the aluminum sling because I'm frugal like that. But you might think it's not frugal because I am going to throw that out afterwards. There is actually a contraption you can buy, of course, on Amazon. I don't really know the name of it because I don't have it, but it's a contraption that goes around it. And it's you can just pull it up, and it's a great accessory to have as well. And then make sure you allow your cheesecake to sit out for that hour to finish cooking. So I hope that you guys, this doesn't intimidate you to make cheesecake anymore, that you're ready to dive in. I know that was something that I was excited to make, but scared to make. So don't be scared. If I can do it, I know you can do it. And just start experimenting. Try different cheesecakes, and I bet you will be just as excited as I am. Have a great night, and I will see you guys next time.